Dear students, I welcome you all to the first session of class 7th Mathematics. The book prescribed is Mathematics by NCRT. Today I will take up the first chapter, Integers. In this module, I will be covering these subtopics. What are integers? Recap of addition and subtraction of integers. What are the rules for multiplying an integer? Verifying the properties under multiplication of integers. And last is the question bank. Now to start with, first, what are integers? As you have already learned in 6th class, integers are the collection of whole numbers which can be positive, negative or zero, but they cannot be fractions or decimal numbers. As you can see below is the number line, which is a collection of negative numbers, positive numbers along with zero, which makes up integers. Now, the recap which you have already done in class 6, that is the rules for adding two integers. First case, if there are two positive integers, you need to add them. The operation performed is addition and the sign will be of always come positive. Second case, if the two integers are negative, then also you will add them and the sign will be negative. Like you can see the examples which are given. In the first case, if 2 and 5 are positive, then the sign is also positive. And the second case, since 2 and 5 are negative, the sign is negative, but the operation performed is addition. While in the third case and the fourth case, in both the cases, one integer is positive and the other integer is negative. So the operation which you need to perform is subtraction, but the sign of larger integer will come. Like in the third case, 2 and 5. 2 is a positive integer and 5 is a negative integer. So we need to subtract 5 and 2, which comes out to be 3. But the sign of bigger integer, which is 5, will come. The sign is negative, so minus 3. In the last case, 2 and 5, again one is a negative integer and the other is a positive integer. But here the bigger number is 5, which is now a sign is positive. So 3 carries positive sign. This you have already learned in class 6. Now comes the rule for subtraction of integers. Now if you need to subtract one positive and one negative integer, now let's see what happens. Now in the first case, if there are two positive integers and you need to subtract them, so operation performed is subtraction, but the sign will be of the bigger number. And in the second case, if there are two negative integers, then also the operation performed is subtraction and the sign of bigger integer will come, as you can see in the examples. But in the last two cases, when one is a positive integer and the other is a negative integer, in these two cases, the operation performed is addition, because here the two minus signs are coming together. So it becomes positive. So actually the question becomes two positive integer. So the same rule which you have done for addition will apply here. Now, the next is the new thing which we will learn in class 7, that is how to multiply integers. Now, there are some rules which you need to apply while multiplying integers. Now, first rule says that if the two integers are of the same sign, if they are positive, the product will have positive sign. And the rule 2 is also similar to rule 1. Only thing here, they are having the negative signs. So the product will be having negative positive sign. So when the two integers are carrying the same sign, the product will have positive sign. While the rule in rule 3, if one integer is positive and the other one is negative, then the product will have negative sign. So it is very easy to remember. To summarize it, we can say that when you are multiplying the integers, if the signs are different, the answer is always negative, and if the signs are same, the answer is always positive. So this rule is same if you extend this rule for more than two integers. Like if in a product of three or more integers, even if we rearrange the integers, the product will not change. If the number of negative integers in a product is odd, the product is negative. You can see in the example here 3, 2 and 1 are negative integers, and if you count the number of negative integers, they are 3 number. It means 3 is odd. So the product will have negative sign. And in the second case, if the number of negative integers is even, then the product is always positive. Like the example says 3, 2, 1, 2, 2. Here there are 4 negative integers and 4 is even in number. So the product is positive. Now next we will study the properties of integers under multiplication. The properties you have already done in class 6, but they are for whole numbers. Now the name of the property is exactly the same, only difference is now we will study for integers. Property number 1, which is closure property, which states that if the if we multiply the two integers, the product is always an integer. That is, if m and n are two integers, then the product is also an integer. It cannot be a fraction or a decimal number. Suppose I take the two integers to be 4 and 3, as you can see in the example. So the product is 12, which is also an integer. Similar is the case for second and third example. Property number 2, which is commutative property, which states that if there are two integers and if we change their order, the product will not be changed. If m and n are two integers, we find the product and we change the order, the product remains the same. See the example. 7 and minus 3. First, I multiply 7 with minus 3. The product is minus 21. And then I found the product of minus 3 with 7. I changed the order, but the product remains the same. That is minus 21. Similarly, I took the second example where I took the integers minus 5 and minus 8. Here both the integers are negative. So the answer will be positive because they are having the same sign. So I change the order of minus 5 and minus 8, but the product remains 40. Now, property number 3, associative property, which states that if A, B, C, there are three integers, and if we change the order of the brackets, the product will remain unchanged. You can see in the example, the three integers are minus 3, 4 and minus 5. In the left hand side, I took the product of 4 and minus 5 first, which is minus 20. Then I found the product of minus 20 with minus 3, which is plus 60, since both are of the same sign. But in right hand side, what I did, I first put bracket in minus 3 and 4, which is minus 12. Then minus 12 with minus 5 is 60. So I changed the order of the brackets, but the product still remains the same, which is true for multiplication. So, and property number 4 is distributive property of multiplication over addition, which is very helpful in finding the product of the large numbers. Now here, if I multiply a with a multiply bracket b plus c, which is same as if I multiply a with b and a with c, and then I find the addition of these two numbers. So here minus 3 is multiplied with minus 5 as well as 2. So minus 3 into, and first I will solve the bracket, which is minus 3, then minus 3 and minus 3 will give me 9. But in right hand side, first I will solve minus 3 and minus 5, and then minus 3 and 2, and then I found their addition. So the result is exactly the same, which is 9. Now property number 5, which is multiplicative identity property, which states that if we multiply 0 with any integer, or a multiplied by 0 or 0 multiplied by a, the product is always 0. For example, if m and y are any two integers, and if you multiply 0 with them, the product is always 0. This brings to the end of today's session on multiplication of integers. To summarize quickly, we today learned about how to do multiplication of integers and various properties to consider while doing multiplication. Now let's continue to the exercise section, which all you need to understand and complete as your home assignment. These assignments will be reviewed and assessed, so please make sure to complete and submit them on time. Problems are based on how to multiply integers, which is question number 1, apply distributive property in simplifying the problem, which is question number 2, and identifying the sign of integers, which is problem number 3, when you multiply negative integers as well as positive integers. And lastly, you have to compare the integers by applying the BODMAS rule, which is there in question number 4. This is all for today's session. Thank you.